I have promised to say more about Wells Fargo, which I discussed at a little length last week, and I do have some thoughts. Now, Wells Fargo's CEO, John Stumpf, appeared before the Senate Banking Committee this week. That was at the request of 5 senators. Let's see if I can remember them. It was Elizabeth Warren, Jeff Merkley, Sherrod Brown, who is the ranking member of that committee, Jack Reed, and one other. Perhaps Robert Menendez from New Jersey. Now, here's the important point to be made here. There were fireworks. It was dramatic. Elizabeth Warren was great. She was fiery. Sherrod Brown, who's been on this show a number of times, was terrific also in a much more low-key way, but he did a great job of kind of following through with, he kind of made me think if Elizabeth Warren was Spencer Tracy in Inherit the Wind, then Sherrod Brown was Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, gentle person, or he was Columbo. One other thing, Mr. Stump, that bothers me about what you just said. So they were both very, very good. Jeff Merkley also raised some interesting points, but the one thing, and I'll get back to this in a second, but one thing about fireworks is that it can be very cathartic to see these Wall Street CEOs dressed down on national television by senators, and some of the Republicans got in the action too. But if that's all we have is a day of catharsis followed by business as usual, we're not really solving the problem, are we? Now, we'll get back to that. But first of all, I do have to say it was satisfying to hear Elizabeth Warren say things like, to the CEO, like, quote, since this massive years-long scam came to light, you have said, I am accountable. What have you done to hold yourself accountable? Have you returned one nickel of the money you earned while this scandal is going on? Of course, he hemmed and hawed, ducked and dodged the question, at which point she admonished him for gutless leadership, quote unquote, and said, quote, you should resign, you should give back the money you made while this scam was going on, and you should be criminally investigated by the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission. That was lovely to hear, because it is absolutely true. The only way Wall Street will change, said Senator Warren, is if executives face jail time after committing fraud. Now, nicely done. As for Senator Brown, it was a very interesting moment when he asked 2 regulators, Richard Cordray of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and Thomas Curry of the OCC, whether they had referred anything they had found in the Wells Fargo case to authorities for criminal investigation. Curry, who is kind of more bank-friendly than a lot of folks, kind of ducked the question. Cordray said, I'm not really legally allowed to answer that question, but kind of made it clear that maybe he did. Jeff Merkley went after the Wells Fargo CEO for creating, quote, a culture of cross-selling that pushed everybody to the maximum. Now, I wrote about it on ourfuture.org, so I won't go into all of that, but it was striking to me that there so much was said. Even the Republicans sounded sympathetic, except for the chairman of the committee, Richard Shelby, who used it as a chance to bash regulators, the same regulators he's been taking funding away from. So it's like yelling at a sheriff for not moving quickly enough after he took his horse. But some of the other Republicans, David Vitter, who has been good on the banking issue, Republican of Louisiana, pointed out rightly that Wells Fargo's management issues show, among other things, that it is too big to fail. But at the end of the day, it's nice to see Republicans coming together to condemn a guy who's leading an outrageous band of bandits like John Stumpf of Wells Fargo. He really, though, I didn't hear anybody say he should be called up for indictment, except I guess Elizabeth Warren did that, to be fair. I did see Sherrod Brown did say that the employees who were fired were essentially good employees and should be made restitution to. Of course, Stumpf didn't commit to that. But at the end of the day, a couple things are going to have to happen. One is these same senators and their colleagues in the House are going to have to pass laws holding banks accountable. Two, we're going to have a president who appoints Justice Department officials who will hold them criminally accountable. We will need to see that happen before we fix Wall Street.